everybody. Welcome. Give us just a couple moments for everyone to join for our guest speaker today. We're very excited to have him here with us. Just give us a moment. We're also live on YouTube as well, so this will be available after the presentation and our guest speaker is complete for today. Thank you all for joining us. And once again, just a few more moments and letting some people in. All right, it looks like we're all here, and then I'll be letting people in as they join in our waiting room. Welcome everybody, I'm Ms. Flores. As you can see, some of your teachers are also here. Please be patient with us before we get started. We are also live streaming on YouTube. So we just want to make sure that we have as many people in here as possible before we get started. All right. Okay. If you guys take a look, you can see that some of your 9th and 10th grade teachers are here. Welcome from VAPA Academy is here, DMA is here, and we're glad to have you join us today. And I just want to introduce you to our guest speaker today, David Tyler Young. Thank you, David, for joining us today. I'll be going silent, but my my video will be on, and we're really grateful for you joining us today.
Well, yeah, thanks for having me. Yeah, my name is David Tyler Young. I am a senior character artist working currently in video games at a company called Cloud Imperium Games in Santa Monica. Yeah, so I just wanted to kind of talk to you guys about what it is I do, and hopefully we can also talk about stuff that's not like just specifically art related. And everyone can get something out of this. I wanted to talk to you guys today because I know when I was in high school, I didn't really get the best guidance, I think. And sometimes it's just a matter of just like, hey, learning what's out there and learning what you can do, and hearing an example of like how to get there, maybe that really helps. So what I'll start by doing is, I guess I'll start by just kind of explaining what a character artist does. I'm sure you guys have all seen movies like The Avengers, played video games, whether it's like Last of Us or Uncharted, God of War, Red Dead Redemption, whether it's films or video games, these are character artists that are creating these digital characters. And there's similarities to working in film and games, but they're different in some ways too. But yeah, usually in film, it's like a team of artists would be working on a character like, say, Iron Man. Like that would be a lot of artists doing something like that. Whereas in video games, maybe like 1 or maybe 2 people works on like a character in a video game. So you have a lot more like artistic ownership over the outcome of that asset. So an example, I'll actually just show you what I'll do is I'll share my screen here, and I'll share an example of my work. This is published online. You can see this anywhere online, but this is the trailer for one of the games I'm currently working on. I'm working on 2 games at once. Star Citizen is kind of like our persistent online game that we make. It's a space simulator game, and within the Star Citizen universe, there will be a game called Squadron 42 that's like a single player campaign. And that's what you're seeing the trailer for right now. And the single player campaign has, it's a huge budget game. It has lots of famous actors and actresses in it. And we're using a lot of cutting edge technology to make this possible. This is a character I worked on. I worked on Mark Hamill for the game, who's kind of like one of the like 2 primary characters. But this game is like a story-driven game with, and as you can see, it's a lot of the environments and ships and stuff are like almost film quality. It's not even distinguishable between like game and film. Assets like these need to be like sculpted, painted, textured. The materials need to be made, whether it's like glass, wood, metal, like whatever their suits are made out of, they need to be created. And the same thing for all the environments. This takes like many people, you know, years and years to accomplish. So yeah, the game, there's no set release date for the game yet, but it's definitely a pretty highly anticipated game. This is only on PC, by the way, for all of you. If you're a PlayStation fan like me or like an Xbox fan, this isn't going to be on there. But anyways, so I mean, we don't need to watch this whole thing. But yeah, so I guess this is what I'm doing now, and there's obviously a big gap to bridge, like between doing that sort of thing and where I started, like where I was at in high school. So I figure I can talk a little bit about where I started as far as high school goes. I did find some old high school work, not as much as I was hoping to find, but I did find some old high school work, which I will share with you now. So, I mean, and let's just briefly start it off at the beginning. When I was a kid, I was super into nerd stuff. I was a huge nerd, and this is me. And as you can see, I'm hard at work here, saving New York City or whatever it was I was doing that day. I would draw all the time. Like I would draw all day, every day. Here's an example of that work. But it would be stuff like this, pretty much like 2-3 hours a day, sometimes more, stacks and stacks of drawings. And I was having fun at the time, but I think what I didn't realize was that I was learning, like I was teaching myself. I was teaching myself how to you know, describe form and anatomy, and you know, lay things out on a page. By the time I got to high school, I was, you know, this Batman drawing had turned into stuff like this. Like I was doing line art, you know, with just ink and pencils. In high school, I was eventually taught some other mediums. I was learning I would do sketches like this like all the time. The sides of my homework, notebook paper, like wherever. I would do like little weekend projects. I would like burn some paper and like draw stuff like this on here and try to use like different mediums like paint, ink, like combining things. Yeah, again, more sketches, kind of just like I would turn an anatomy study into like a superhero because it was like easy to do, but I was really interested in learning my anatomy and learning how like the forms like move away in space from the viewer. I'll see what else is in here. This is like you know, like just a sketch I would do like while I was watching like a baseball game or like a Laker game or something. I would just sit on the couch and like do stuff like this. These are probably like when I was like 16 or like 18 or something. Probably more like 16, 15. This is when I first started to learn how to use Photoshop, which is pretty rudimentary. Like I still sketched this, but it was just like, you know, learning new skills to build on top of what I already knew to like create something different. This is when I first started learning how to paint. This is like an acrylic painting. It's probably like 3.5 feet tall by like 2.5 feet wide or 1.5 feet wide. So it's pretty big. But this is when I first started to learn how to paint. This is when I got into prop building. I took what I was learning in other areas and I started building props. And building props turned into building costumes that I would like make and I would sell. So like this is a costume I built with working like light. I learned how to like wire you know, sound and electricity into things, and you know, if I didn't know how to do it, I would figure out how to do it. So a couple other things. This is a really terrible picture of probably the first prop I built. Max, I think you might have been there for this one. I don't know, but yeah. So the kid that was obsessed with Batman still is obsessed with Batman. But I learned I didn't know how to make certain things, so I figured it out. I learned how to sew. I learned how to make like composite fabrics. Yeah. And then this is probably one of the last paintings I did right at the end of like high school. Yeah. So these are, sorry for the quality of these photos. These are like not the greatest quality. Yeah, so that's what I was doing in high school, but I didn't really, like I was saying, I didn't really have a lot of guidance leaving high school. I had an art teacher who knew that I loved art and I was a hard worker and I was talented, but he had been out of the art industry for so long. He was just like, well, graphic design's where it's at. Like, that's how you make money and do art at the same time. You know, great, you should do graphic design. And in reality, that was like old information. That was information that was probably current, like in the 70s, you know, late 70s. But I didn't know any better. And my passion was really, you know, film and entertainment art, specifically characters, you know, like that was what I was really passionate about. And I, just because that was the only direction I had, I ended up through a series of events I ended up going to Cal State San Bernardino to the graphic design program. But I think I knew when I was there, it was hard. You know, I was working, I was putting myself through school, and you know, it was a lot of hours. I commuted like an hour one way to get there. But I think as far as the schoolwork goes, to me, it wasn't super challenging. Like I probably had one of the better portfolios in the program, but I didn't feel like I was producing the best work I could produce. But because I wasn't really interested in graphic design. But I knew that getting my degree was important for a multitude of reasons, so I finished it out. But as soon as I was done, I was kind of like, man, this isn't good enough. Like, what am I gonna do? This, like, I was waiting tables at an Olive Garden, and I know everybody likes soup, salad, and breadsticks, right? But I was waiting tables, and I was like, man, what am I gonna do? Go to some vocational training? None of this is good enough for me. I want more. So I thought, well, now's the time to do it. I'm young. I don't have anything tying me down. If I want to go back to like grad school and like really, really pursue like working in the entertainment industry, like film, or, you know, I wasn't even thinking about video games at the time. I wanted to do film. Well, okay, let's do it. And I did. I put all my savings on the line. I like sold everything I had to like go to grad school. I had like no money. I lived in like an apartment that was like the size of a box in Hollywood with like, you know, which is like a super weird place to live, by the way. Yeah, and I rode my bike because I didn't have enough money to put gas in my vehicle. I rode my bike everywhere. And I worked my ass off through grad school. And my portfolio was pretty solid after that. And I can share with you guys some of my portfolio at that point. Now I went to grad school to learn how to do 3D visual effects and like film. So like, I'll show you some of my work here. I think you guys are probably going to notice a theme here with my interests. So this is work that I did when I was in school, and this is a 3D model of like the classic Batmobile, obviously. But yeah, I mean, this represents like this project right here is probably like 500 hours worth of work, and I'm not joking. Like 500 hours. This is like a lot of work, especially when you're trying to do something this ambitious. When you're like you're just learning how to like make stuff in 3D. So this is another project that I did as part of my demo reel. This is a 3D model of, I don't know if you guys are familiar with the Hatbox Ghost from the Haunted Mansion at Disneyland. Well, I kind of did my own rendition of this. And let's see if I can blow this up. This is, pretty detailed 3D model in the environment with like a little environment outside and some cobwebs and stuff. And now of course I look at this and I'm like, whatever. But at the time it was pretty good. It was pretty well liked in my term. This would have been another piece that I finished school with, which got a lot of attention. I think the attention here was mostly because, hand sculpted cloth elements, anatomically accurate and realistic, like hands and stuff like that. Those are things that a lot of people really have trouble doing, and I, pulled them off pretty well here. So I think that got me quite a bit of attention at school around that time. And this is probably the piece that I was like actually best known for at school. This is a concept artist, kind of like Disney version of a scene from like the Phantom of the Opera. And I took this piece and did this piece in 3D based on that artwork. And I won some awards for this piece before I left school. And yeah, and it's cool. I'm proud of it still, but now I look at it and I'm just like, whatever. But it is cool. But anyways, yeah. So this is what my portfolio was looking like when I graduated. I got offered an internship at Legacy Effects, which for those of you who don't know, Legacy Effects is the place that like makes all the Iron Man suits for the movies, and Pacific Rim, Jurassic Park, Star Wars. Like they make a lot of the costumes and the props for those films. I was there for an extremely brief period of time because I was offered work doing big budget commercials, and Legacy Effects is cool because everybody knows Star Wars and everybody knows Jurassic Park and all these things, right? So people think, oh my God, that's the coolest thing ever. But as far as a career, once you start working there, there's kind of no place else to go. There's no you're working there kind of because of the name and not because of like a career trajectory you want to go on. And I wanted to like have a long career and do lots of things. And so I kind of decided, maybe it's the time to, right now I should just go straight to commercials. I can go a lot of different directions from there. And I did big budget commercials, worked on stuff for like, Samsung and Old Spice and, Bacardi and, big, huge commercial projects. And then I was asked if I would, by actually one of the guys who was one of the original designers at Marvel, if he started working for this company called Cloud Imperium, and he saw my work and he was like, hey, do you want to come be a character artist over here? He had left Marvel and they were looking for some, skilled new sculptors. And I was like, sure, let's do it. So, I went there as a junior artist, and I've pushed and excelled. I've been there for like just past 4 years, and now I'm a senior artist, which that's industry wise, it's pretty damn fast to become a senior artist. So I'm pretty happy about that. And you've seen some of my work from there. I'm going to share screen once more to show you some work. This is kind of like, unfortunately, not as new as I would like this work. Sorry, I'm waiting for this. Yeah, let's do this. So, yeah, so this is like some of the work I've done at Star Citizen. You guys, Cloud Imperium Star Citizen. This is Mark Hamill. You guys saw him in the trailer. So I did his hair and his face. Put some other stuff in here. This is a character I did, an armor I did for our game. So this is all like digitally sculpted and painted. And then this, I think the most current thing here is Mark Hamill, and this is already like over 2 years old because I'm not allowed to put like the newest stuff online. I had to get like company approval. There's some other stuff I did. I sculpted the body for this guy and his head. And then one of my team members, a younger artist, I was kind of like mentoring, did like his pants and stuff. But yeah, I sculpted his face and, you know, painted him and gave him his tattoos and his creepy eyes and his veins and stuff. So this is like what my work looks like now. Yeah, I think some of you guys, I don't know, might see this work and might think, oh my gosh, like, come on, Tyler, there's no way, like, I'm not going to do that, or I don't know how to get into that. And I would say, well, that's not true. I would say you guys have a really cool, several really cool academies at your school. And that's where you learn the skills that lead to other things, even if you don't know what those things are yet. You know, think back to when you were learning your ABCs. Like, you didn't know when you were learning your ABCs, oh my God, I'm gonna have to be writing essays. You know, because if you just thought about writing essays, you'd be like, well, shit, I'm screwed. Like, I can't write an essay. But you've made small skills into bigger skills, into bigger skills, into bigger skills. And now, like, you know, you guys are going to be graduating high school in like, you know, 3 to 4 years, depending on how old you are. So like, this is the time to learn this stuff. You guys have good classes. You guys have, you guys are learning a lot of traditional skills that are super important. There's not a single artist that works in film or video games that is a really good artist that didn't start traditionally. Like, every artist that I look to for inspiration or that I follow has all started as a traditional sculptor, and they all study the great like masters of painting, sculpture, design. Like, all these things are very interconnected. It really just takes time and the desire to like get better at these things. You know, there's no not everybody has the same path and not everybody learns at the same rate, but like, it can be done, you know.
Do you want to move into the question portion, or?
Yeah, I'm ready whenever you guys are, because I'll sit here and I'll just keep talking and talking about art stuff and nerd stuff. So if anybody has questions, let me know.
Well, most of these students are 9th and 10th graders from both visual performing arts and digital media arts. We do have one class in here. Ms. Paredes brought her class, her 8th period, and thank you for doing that, Ms. Paredes. What I want to do now for you guys, and this goes out to our staff members as well, is if you have a question, could you please put it in the chat, and then as we go through, we'll keep track of the questions so we make sure everyone can get their question in. And I'll start off first. There's some of those pictures that you were, or the photos that you were showing us, were those the digital versions, or was that the actual sculpture?
Which one in particular?
I think it was the last guy with the pants.
Yeah, that's the character that I sculpted in the game. I could actually show you guys what a sculpt looks like. If I have some of my sculpts loaded up, if you guys wanted to check out some of my sculpts.
Mm-hmm. So while you guys get your questions ready, he can show us that if you want. Are you able to do that?
What's that?
I said while they get their questions ready, you can kind of give us a visual.
Yeah, I can show you real quick. I already got it ready to go. Yeah, hold on one second. So.
And I also know that in VAPA Academy, they have access to different things in our new Innovation Hub that might give them the ability to do something similar to this. Is that right, Mr. Rocky?
Yes, we're in process of getting some machines that will have ZBrush, which is what you're looking at here.
Yes.
So we're really excited about that, translating what we know with clay and clay-like materials to 3D sculpting.
Yeah, so these are some pretty old. This is a pretty old 3D sculpt. I showed you guys the finished game version of this character a minute ago, so that's why I wanted to like show you this particular sculpt. And it's kind of moving a little slow here because this is a really heavy model. But yeah, I mean, there's a lot of components here. You know, there's hard surface materials here. There's fabrics here. You know, there's kind of rubbers. There's draped cloth, like all this stuff. You have to be able to hit the marks on all these things in order to, you know, be successful, I guess you'd say. I also just for fun, I threw in like a fun project, like something I'm kind of getting into. But this is a digital sculpt of like Wolverine, like classic comic book Wolverine for those of you that know. But this is something that I plan on, that you can see behind me, like I have statues like this behind me. These I'll be 3D printing. I have a 3D printer that I've got. And that's another application of the skill set, right? Is you can print things, you can build things and make things. So this is going to get printed and made into like an actual piece that can be swapped out in like statues. And I mean, there's so many applications, it's kind of endless. But yeah, but this is what a sculpt looks like. So something like this would get painted and then put into the game, like this, right? This is that same process. It gets painted, textured, rendered, and this is it in the game.
It looks so real. It's hard to tell that it's like.
Yeah, I mean, it's had a little bit of editing done to it, but not really. Like, this is what he looks like in the game, like when you see him. So, anyways.
So we have our first question.
Yes, let's hear questions.
Our student question is, what was the biggest challenge you went through? Because it only came to me, sorry. Went through while choosing this career?
Oh, that's a good question. So I think the biggest challenge was being afraid of not being able to do it. I think that was the biggest challenge. I think if you're honest with yourself about working towards something and honest with yourself about how good you are and if you have those things going on, you can have confidence in your ability to make the decision like, hey, I can do this. And I think that was really hard, that was really hard. Because I think everybody's natural inclination is like when things aren't clear or the pathway isn't clear, to be afraid. And they'll go, oh, well, that's scary. I'll do something more average, or I'll do something more normal,
And then they had a follow-up question that said, how did you fight through that?
Oh, these are good questions. Well, first and foremost, I would say that I have a great family that's always been very supportive of what I do. And second of all, I think part of fighting through that is being passionate about what it is you're doing. If you're passionate about what you're doing, I knew that doing something else, I would be letting myself down. Like, I knew that if I just had got my degree doing graphic design and just did graphic design, I knew that wasn't challenging enough for me. I knew that was like, I would always think about, well, what if I had actually done what my original, I guess, dream was? What if I hadn't done that? And I would have killed me, so I had to like push forward and like do what it is I wanted to do. So those thoughts kind of kept me, going, I guess you'd say.
And I think like having a set goal and knowing exactly what it is helps you to.
It is. I mean, to be honest though, I mean, even when I went to grad school, it's like I didn't know I was going to be a character artist. I wanted to, but I didn't know. Even like 6 months before I graduated, I didn't know. I was like, am I good enough to do this? Because you have to be really good. Like, these jobs are really hard to get. There's not very many of them, and there's so many people that want to do it. People think it's cool. And I look at applications from all over the world, just our company. So I did a portfolio review the other day, like on Friday. And, yeah, people just they want to do this kind of work. And it's like, you have to have a lot of perseverance and, kind of silence your own doubts, to do it.
I have a couple of questions coming through. So there's one question that says, do you have a lot of talent? Do you have to have a lot of talent to do what you're doing now? And you kind of answered that, but I wanted to see if you could tie in. I remember you told us before we started that there was a portfolio review you had done, and you had watched how that kind of like mentee had like worked through some things and gotten to where they're at now. Can you kind of elaborate?
I think talent, the word talent, there's a little bit of myth behind it. So let's talk about that first. Cause I think that was something that people told me a lot when I was a kid. People would say, oh my gosh, you're so talented. And I would be like, ha, that's awesome. I'm so talented. I don't really know what that means, but it sounds great. And I realized that that's just a word that people use when they've tried to do something you're doing and they can't do it on like the first or second try. But they don't realize that the reason I'm be able to do this stuff is because I would sit all day in my room and I would work on it and work on it and work on it. So I think that anybody can do. Some people might be, maybe I was a little more adept at learning things, maybe, but that was also because I was so interested. Those things go hand in hand. If you're really curious and interested about something, it's going to be easier for you to learn about it. And then those things like feed each other. And those things make you want to work hard. So if you're working hard and you're interested, that's all these things equate to passion. This is what makes someone passionate. So I don't really know that I think passion and hard work are much more important than talent. And to Natasha, to go to the example you mentioned, we had a guy at our studio, and I've been not in charge of hiring, but one of the people in like kind of the oversees hiring at our studio for quite some time now. And we had a guy submit his portfolio, and honestly, his portfolio was okay. It was just okay. I wasn't super impressed by it. He was also very inexperienced, and they kind of asked me what I thought about hiring him, and my vote was no. I was like, no, not for me. Sorry. And I'm gonna have to be the one that trains him. Boo. That's that's gonna be a pain in the butt. And they didn't listen to me. They hired him anyways, and I was just like, great. But you know what? This kid worked his ass off all the time. He listened to the people around him that were mentoring him, and he made great strides in a very short amount of time. And he's on our team still, and he's doing great work. He's doing really good work, and I've told him many times, that I'm really proud about the work he's done. And and he didn't go to a grad school for it really. Like, he's largely self-taught, which is awesome.
I was on mute. We have a joke about that. So the next question was, who inspires you and why?
Are we talking like, what kind of inspirations? Just in general?
Mr. Chapman, can you elaborate on your question, please? Or Ms. Chapman, I'm not sure. Sorry, I made the assumption, but can you elaborate on your question, please?
I'm sorry, what's the question?
Your question was, who inspires you and why? And we wanted to elaborate on that.
Oh, like, who inspired you to choose this career and path?
I have a lot of art inspirations. As a kid, I was obviously, you guys have seen some of my work already. I was into comic books. I learned anatomy from drawing from comic books. I was super inspired by Star Wars. Star Wars really inspired me. And it's not just because, like lightsabers and spaceships are cool. It was because I was so interested in it. I like read about how it was made and like the drive to make it. That like really got me inspired. And I would be probably one of the biggest inspirations I have is Kobe Bryant. If not for growing up in and around the game of basketball and watching Kobe Bryant play basketball, I don't think I would have. I think he kind of inspired me to like make some difficult choices, like choose to risk it all to like go to grad school, like everything I had, do things that were above a normal amount of difficulty and like believe that I could do it, so definitely him. And of course, I mentioned my family and stuff too, for sure.
Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
At the moment, I don't have any more questions in the chat. So if you guys have some last minute questions, please place them in there. In the meantime, I wanted to introduce our principal who's here, Mr. Valenzuela. Thank you for joining us today. I wanted to see if you had any words for the students, or if you just wanted to say hi.
Yeah, first of all, Mr. Young, thank you for sharing your experience in your field to our students. I'm really so happy because oftentimes we need somebody that's kind of been in our shoes as a mentor or somebody I can strive to regarding in the industry that you're in. So I want to thank you because I know our students really enjoyed it. And you're welcome anytime to come to Roy Valley High School. And I love the images, man. They were phenomenal.
Well, I wish I could show you guys some more
Yeah.
stuff because I'm working on some pretty cool stuff. But
Yeah.
I talked to the lawyers at the studio and they said no. So yeah.
So
But yeah,
our kiddos one day.
yeah,
Yeah. Thank you.
Mhm.
Thank you, Mrs. Flores, putting this on. So,
Oh, no,
awesome.
thank you for doing
Awesome
that.
job.
We do have a couple more questions before we finish off. I'll tell you both of them so you can start thinking about it. The first one is, what are some good college majors to help get into the industry? And then the other question is, how was it like working for Marvel, and which Marvel characters did you work on? So I'll let you kind of answer. The first one was on the college majors, just to give you some time to think of the other one.
Well, I'll answer the Marvel one first because I didn't specifically work for Marvel. I worked briefly at Legacy FX, but I didn't work on anything specifically Marvel. And I worked with some people that were lead designers from Marvel, but I didn't work on anything specifically at Marvel. I do know, I have a lot of insight into Marvel and how like every part of their pipeline works and how they make their characters in like digitally, and the practical effects like the costumes and stuff. Like I know many people have made many things, good friends who have made many things in all the Marvel films. But I personally did not, like, you're not going to see my name in the credits of any of those movies. As far as college majors and stuff, that's a tough one because I think, and it's an important question, because I think you don't have to have a college degree to get into this industry. You don't. If you work your ass off and there's learning tools online. And if someone was like, hey, Tyler, I really, really know for sure that I want to work in video games and I want to be an environment artist, or I want to be a rigger, or I want to be a coder. There's tons of disciplines to get into. And if you wanted to do that, there are lots of really fantastic resources online that are like a fraction of the price of, a degree or college, to do that. That having said that, I do think that a general, degree education is a really important thing. That prepares you for all kinds of things outside of your career in life that are really important, especially at a young age. So I think it's hard to say because a lot of art programs, especially like in the Cal State system or the University of California system, aren't going to have the most up-to-date and current techniques and trends that would help land you a job. Honestly, I think things in the computer science realm would be really good. Like I did graphic design. Do I think it really helped me a lot with this? No. I think there's a lot of valuable skills, but as far as like, if I knew I was going to do this, I probably wouldn't have got that degree. I probably would have done something else. The fine art classes are super important. Drawing is so important. Sculpting is so important. Even things like ceramic, like learning form language and shape language, those things are really important. But as far as a degree, I don't know. I think that varies person to person and what they're interested in.
So I would say it doesn't count you out if you don't have a degree in this area.
No, it doesn't count you out. But I will say important things to note about not having a degree. Communication, being able to read and write and express your thoughts really well, really important, guys, like super important, like as a professional. These are things you learn when you get a degree to a high level, and they will serve you well, no matter what profession you get into. if you want to be a manager, or if you want to like have a career that takes you past a certain point, you got to have a degree, like you have to. Like you might be able to be an artist, but I mean, you'll be a low-level artist, maybe not even a senior artist or a mid-level artist. You'll be a low-level artist for your whole career. That could be like 30 years, if you're lucky. Like, so you want to work 30 years and not like advance as high as you could. You know what I mean? I think when you have a degree and you're able to communicate well and you're able to bring other types of knowledge to the table, people respect you more. They're more likely to listen to you. They'll ask for your input on more things. It doesn't count you out if you don't have one, but it makes you more valuable if you do have one.
And then I have quite a few questions, but what we're going to do, I'll round off with this last one. And then I just want to let some of you know that there will be a form that I'm going to post in a moment, so that if you have any lingering questions, you can post them there, and then I'll definitely share them with Tyler so that you guys can see if we can get your question answered. But this last one, you kind of started going into it already, but I'll let you kind of finish off the answer. What would you tell a student if they wanted to be like you?
I would say don't aim to be like me, aim to be like better than me. Like your goal should be to come take my job from me, and like kick my ass like all over the place. That should be your goal. And I'm joking and I'm laughing, but I'm serious too. Work hard, and work smart. If you're passionate about something, whether it's dance or music or literature, learn about that thing. Like learn about the history of that thing. Learn about the greats who have done it, and I guarantee you will find that all those people are people who push themselves out of their comfort zone and strive to excel at whatever it is they do. So find your thing that makes you want to do that, and then don't be afraid. Just go for it. Like do what you can and go for it. That's what I would say.
Thank you so much for joining us today and talking to our 9th and 10th grade students. I want to say thank you to all our staff members that joined us today. And I really appreciate it. This is kind of the first time we've done something like this during this school year, and we really appreciate you being a part of it.
Yeah, I've had a great time, and I would be happy to answer any other questions that anybody has. I think you guys asked a lot of really great questions, by the way. I know I can't see your faces, but there's some good questions here.
Yeah, it's hard sometimes, but through distance learning, but we're glad that our students are here and that they're able to hear you speak. And I want to just say that I just dropped in the chat a Google form for everyone, all the students that attended. If you could please, something I didn't put in there though, was what academy you're part of. I just realized that right now. So this is for our DMA students, but I don't know, Mr. Brocky, if you want your VAPA students to fill it out. Would you like them to?
Absolutely, for sure.
Sorry, Natasha, not to cut you off or anything, but I mean, I'm okay to go a little longer if you guys want to go a little longer, if there's actually more questions, but that's up to you guys.
There was just a couple, but we can throw them. Some of them got answered.
Okay.
We can throw them into the link. Mr. Rocky, I'll just share the list with you, and if you guys could all I'll post it again. Make sure to get, if your teacher is offering you extra credit, make sure you fill out this form, because that's how they're going to know that you were a part of our event today. And then there's also a portion in there at the bottom telling you if you have any questions to place them there, and we will be more than happy to pass them on. Tomorrow we have another presentation for our 11th and 12th graders. So if you want to join us again, it'll be a little bit different. That'll be, some of the things will be the same, but slightly different for our 11th and 12th grade students, but you're more than welcome to join us if you want to be here, and just ask your teachers for the link. And if there's any other questions about tomorrow, about today, you want to ask real quick, based on, we can answer those for you really quickly. Otherwise, we're good for today. So if you want to hang around and ask a question, please stay. Or if you don't, we're done for today. And if we could cut the live stream, please.
Yeah, thank you guys for coming